Okay, I'm going to run through real quick here the process I went through earlier just this morning when I obtained an EIN number for my grandmother's estate, the estate that I'm the executor for. It's a simple process, easy to do. It only takes maybe 10 minutes or so to do it, but there are a few tricky places that I'll try my best to explain to you how I handled them. All right, first thing, went to Google, estate tax ID number. Now a lot of these people are advertising because they want to do it for you and charge you for it, or they want to tell you how to do it and charge you for that. I'm going to tell you right now for free, and you'll be able to get an estate tax ID number easily, quickly, in minutes, online, for free. Now, you'll see there are, I'm not telling, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not giving legal advice, and I'm not telling you to do it on your own without a lawyer. That's up to you. You kind of have to make a judgment call, as with all these things, whether it's worthwhile to pay the lawyer or not. Sometimes it is, but especially if you have a big complicated estate. But anyway, I'll try to point out the issues as I solve them. First I do click on the IRS site. Go there, apply for employer identification number, click apply online now. Oh, you might have noticed on that screen, talked about hours of operation. I ran into that last night. Tried to apply at 11 o'clock at night for whatever reason, even though it's all done online, all automated. They're only open certain hours. I think it's between 7 in the morning and 10 at night or something like that, Eastern time. And only Monday through Friday. So just be aware of that. All right, click begin application. You want an estate tax ID, not a corporation one, not a trust one, estate. This is for probate property that I'm taking through probate for my grandmother's estate. If I want to, close out one of her bank accounts, I'm going to have to give them an estate tax ID number. So that's why I'm getting one. This just talks about what it is, what an estate is. Alright, here the first thing you're going to do is enter information about the deceased person, their name, and their social. I'm going to pause because I don't want my grandmother's or my personal information being put out all over the web. So I'll fill this out, click continue, and turn this back on when we get to the next screen. Alright, the next screen says, please choose one, individual or existing business. I am the executor myself as an individual, so that's what I'm going to click. If your lawyer, for instance, was the executor, that would be an existing business. I click individual and continue. Next thing it's going to ask is information about me. So I'm going to fill that out. When I get down here, it's going to ask fiduciary title. In my case, I'm executor. I just looked at the court appointment letter, and that's what it called me. Now, if it had called me an administrator or a personal representative, then I suppose I would use those terms. But it called me executor, so that's what I'm going to use. This says choose one. Yeah. Again, if you're the one doing it, you choose this one. If it's a third party, which, you saw those ads earlier, if you pay someone, they'll do it for you, but no reason for that. All right, I'll be back with you in a second. All right, next screen asks the mailing address for the estate. I'm going to use my address because that's where I want things to come to. I suppose I could use my grandmother's address, for instance, but we'll be selling the house, and so that won't work for very long. So I'm going to use my own home address. All right, you can see my high-speed green sticky there. I'm just blocking out the name of the estate. There is a couple tricky things in this screen, and again, this is where, this is the kind of complication that might drive someone to go hire an attorney to handle it, and that might be a good idea in many cases. But for me, I decided to do it myself, and I'll just explain to you the thought process I went through. Okay, first of all, county where estate is probated. You can see there by default it put my county, Prince William County, Virginia. But my grandmother lived and died and owned property in Fairfax County, Virginia. So the estate, and that's where I was appointed executor. So her estate is being probated in Fairfax County. So when I did this earlier, I had to change that to Fairfax, which, by the way, I didn't notice that issue until I got all the way to the end of the process, and I had to restart. But again, once you do this, once you see, you know what you're doing, so it goes very quickly. All right, date, estate, created, funded, probated. For that, and it gives you a little, if you click that, it tells you, it says estate should enter the date of death of the decedent, or the date when the estate was legally funded. So I think I could have gone with September, which is when I was appointed executor, and when I'm going to be funding a new bank account. So I could have put September 2013, but I just put July because I didn't see any reason, which is the date of death, because it said you could, and I didn't see any reason not to. And maybe there could possibly be some issue of some probate property having been transferred during July. For instance, when some of my, my mom and uncle and aunts, when they were there and they picked up some stuff out of the house, hey, is that some probate property that was transferred in July? So anyhow, just going, it seemed to make sense to me to go with July. I didn't see any downside to that. The next thing, select the month, the closing month of accounting year. That's a more complicated issue. And honestly, for that one, you should do a little bit of research. I found this article right here from Wealth Counsel that I found helpful. They get into DNI, distributed net income, which is about income from a trust and an estate, and really very complicated stuff. I am not sure if it's even going to apply in my grandmother's case because, her estate is not huge, but I don't know, it might, And so down the road, I do plan to discuss some of these issues with an attorney. My choice, though, today was, hey, for various reasons, I'm trying to move this estate along, and before I can do anything with the bank accounts, I've got to get this EIN number. So I could have waited, threw up my hand, and say, I got to talk to my lawyer about it, emailed him, contacted him, set up an appointment, done that, paid him, I assume, and I could have done that, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, and maybe you should do that. But I'll tell you what I did. I read that article a little bit and determined, and he doesn't recommend, but he says, here we go, very often the executor will select the longest initial fiscal year possible for deferral purposes. So reading between the lines, that told me that in most cases, probably most estates select the date that will defer any tax issues as long as possible. Those tax issues include taxes potentially to beneficiaries or heirs. Again, I think that gets into issues of how large the estate is. I'm not sure that I will have those issues. But anyway, I just saw no downside with pushing this off as long as possible. And the answer to that question is next June. If you can go up to a year, not really a year, but the last day of the month before the month that the deceased passed away. So my grandmother passed away in July 2013. So I can select as the closing month of my accounting year for this estate, June of 2014. So I think June 30th, 2014 will be the closing date. And after that, there's going to be some tax issues to deal with, potentially. But I don't think there will be any until then because I opted to do it this way. So there you go. That's what I know about this. I think I made the right choice there. It seems pretty much common sense. But you know what? Is it possible there's some issue out there that could bite me on the butt? It is possible. But, sometimes you take calculated risks in life. Did I want to take week 2 delay to talk to the lawyer, pay the lawyer to probably get this same answer? No, I don't. So this is what I did. Let's see. Now my session is timed out. See, this is what happens if you take too long. So I'm going to go back to the start, re-enter everything that I just entered, and get back to the next screen, and then we'll be talking again. See you in a minute. All right, back again. Next screen says, tell us more about the estate. Do you expect to have employees? No, I do not. You would need to have a pretty big estate, I think, to have to hire employees to handle it, in which case you probably would have a lawyer doing this for you, but this is my situation. EIN assistant. Oh, here we go. How would you like to receive your EIN confirmation letter? So we can receive it online, and it'll print out right there, or you can receive it in the mail, and then I think it takes about 4 weeks. So, of course, I wanted it as quick as possible, so I click Receive the Letter Online, and I'll press Continue. Okay, I skipped over the last screen there, just summarized all the information, and then you click Submit, and that's all there is to it. I'm not showing that screen because I had some, personal information in it, but you'll want to be careful on that screen to review everything. That's where I caught some of those issues earlier that I, discussed with you. But anyway, review that carefully. You click Submit. It'll create the PDF, and you print it out, and you are done. You have obtained your tax ID number for the estate. Again, it's easy to do yourself for free, and it takes only minutes. Good luck.